Welcome back, viewers. In today's video, we are going to do the Geekbench 6.5 test on the mainline or the generic kernel of Arch Linux, and I have installed the EndeavourOS on my laptop and the Licorice kernel as well as the generic kernel are installed on my system. In the last video, we have seen the Geekbench test being performed on EndeavourOS with the Licorice kernel, and in today's video, we are going to do the Geekbench 6.5 test on the EndeavourOS with the generic or the mainline kernel. And you can see the kernel version is 6.17.9-arch1-1. It is a SMP, that is symmetric multiprocessor preempt dynamic kernel, and I have already given the permissions to the Geekbench bin file to execute. And let us start with the execution of the test. So the test have now started. Here you can see the system information about my system, that is EndeavourOS kernel is 6.17.9-arch1-1 64-bit. This is the laptop model, my motherboard number, serial number, and the BIOS. So this is the motherboard model and serial number, and this is the BIOS version, and this is the CPU information. And the single core test have started. We wait for the test to complete, and then we can view the scores on the web link that will be provided in the terminal. Now the multi-core test have started. So tests have completed and soon we will be able to view the scores at the web link provided. We'll bookmark this page. So the single core scores are 1384 and the multi-core scores are 4254, 4254. Compare this with the liquorized kernel. So the mainline or the generic kernel of Arch Linux that is available in EndeavourOS is almost matching in the single core performance, while there is a little difference you can see here between the scores for the multi-core test. So multi-core test scores are different, while the single core test results are almost same. It is matching with the liquorized kernel, and these are also very good scores that we obtained, and the EndeavourOS test results are comparable to what we got in CashOS. So in CashOS, though you can tweak the different schedulers, you can change the schedulers, but when the performance comes, the performance of EndeavourOS is not less than CashOS. It is on par with CashOS. EndeavourOS is one of the best Linux distributions out there for Arch lovers or Arch users, and it is matching in performance with the CashOS. So CashOS, you get a good learning. You learn how the different schedulers will affect the system performance. But when the actual performance comes, the EndeavourOS, which is a Arch-based Linux distribution, matches CashOS, which is also Arch Linux based distribution. So EndeavourOS old is gold, and it is matching the CashOS, but CashOS offers more learning. You learn more about the different schedulers, the scheduler profiles, the flags and everything. So it is good for learning, while EndeavourOS, though it is old fashioned, it has not done many tricks to what Arch has offer. Very little modifications which make it more user friendly are available, but it is basically Arch Linux system only. It is very raw, and you have to do all the modifications by yourself. While in CashOS, the developers have given a lot of modification and tweaks in the hands of user. Users can easily use the different manager, scheduler manager, and then they can tweak the system to suit their needs. So now let us check out the single individual scores for single core and multi-core test. You can see here the score results are there. Now the multi-core results are there. You can take a good look. Then I will start scrolling up. And these are the CPU information that is given, uploaded to the geekbench.com website. You can see here result information. So that's it. In the series of Geekbench test, we have performed on different Linux distributions like Debian, Linux Mint, ZorinOS, OpenSUSE, EndeavourOS, CashOS, and the results are in front of you. Yes, we also tested Ubuntu also. So the results are in front of you, and you should not be able to judge which Linux distribution is performing better. But in the grand conclusion, I can say the scores are nearly matching each other. There is not a very big difference in scores of all these Linux distributions. All are doing fine. But I think the ZorinOS is a little notch below the other Linux distribution. Best performing was this EndeavourOS, and yes, OpenSUSE was the best performing. OpenSUSE and EndeavourOS, I think, were the best performance. I could feel the speed of the system. While in ZorinOS, the system was lagging. It was not performing that well. The fans were blowing very fast. I could hear the whir of the fans. While in other Linux distributions, this was not an issue. So ZorinOS developers have to do the tweaks for their system to make it perform better. ZorinOS is one level down, while the old Linux distributions like Ubuntu, Debian, Arch Linux distributions like CashOS as well as EndeavourOS are doing very fine. Linux Mint is also very fine. I had no problems. The system would cope up with the load that was put on the system by the Geekbench test, while ZorinOS is a little bit down. So that's the grand conclusion of the different Geekbench tests we have performed on different Linux distribution. That's it for today's video. See you in the next video with some more technicalities of Linux. Bye bye.